Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are opening a really critical chapter of modern history. Our mission is pretty direct. We're diving deep into the foundational goals that Adolf Hitler laid out, long before he even had power. And we're going to measure those goals against one single pivotal year, 1935.
Yeah, and it's crucial to start with those goals.
Right, the blueprint.
Exactly, the blueprint. What's so fascinating here is how open he was about it all. It was written down for anyone to see. So for you, the listener, understanding these aims is essential because almost everything that happens after 1933 is a direct consequence of what he wrote down years before.
Okay, so let's unpack that blueprint. If you were to boil it down, looking at Mein Kampf from the 1920s, what are the three main pillars of his vision?
Well, they're all focused on destroying the past to build this dominant future. The first pillar is, on the surface, pretty simple: abolition and equality.
Equality? I mean, that sounds reasonable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but it's what he meant by it. He demanded equality of rights, but the immediate goal was the complete abolition of the peace treaties.
Versailles and Saint-Germain.
Versailles and Saint-Germain. To him, these were the chains on Germany. They, restricted territory, demanded crippling payments, and most importantly, kept the military tiny.
So getting rid of those was step one, no matter what.
It was the absolute prerequisite for everything else.
And the second pillar, that was more about the future, about expansion. This is where Lebensraum, or living space, comes in.
It is, yeah. But it wasn't just about grabbing any land, it was highly targeted. Pillar 2 is territorial expansion.
Okay.
And he's explicit. He says to turn his eyes toward the lands of the East. He specifically names Russia and its border states.
So this isn't about, say, reclaiming land from France.
No, not at all. This was about what he called the colonization of the eastern frontiers. It was, a project to provide space and food for a growing German population.
But it was also ideological.
Deeply. It was about clearing that land and making Germany self-sufficient so it wouldn't have to rely on anyone else.
Which leads right into the third aim, the most ideological one, which kind of justified everything else.
Yes, the perpetual enemy. The third aim was all about anti-Bolshevism.
So Soviet communism.
Exactly, the expulsion of Marxist poison from the body of our nation. He saw Bolshevism as this existential threat, and he positioned Germany as its next great target.
Which is a very powerful piece of rhetoric, especially when you're talking to Western countries who are also nervous about the Soviets.
Absolutely. It acted as both a domestic justification for purges and an international shield for his ambitions.
So you've got undo Versailles, expand east, and destroy communism. When he takes power in 33, he has to start rearming, right? He has to break through
immediately, and the speed is just astounding.
So let's talk about that prep phase, 33 to 34. He can't just announce he's building an air force. Versailles had these really strict limits. 100,000 men in the army, no tanks, no submarines.
No, he had to be clever. He started rearming in secret right away. He used things like sporting clubs to train pilots and dummy companies to build equipment.
And this had another benefit, didn't it? Domestically.
A huge one. It created jobs. He drafted thousands of unemployed workers into these projects, which helped tackle Germany's biggest problem, unemployment. So on the surface, it just looked like economic recovery.
So he's building his army in secret, telling everyone else he has no wish to rearm.
And then he waits for his justification.
Which came from the League of Nations itself.
It did. The disarmament conference failed. The other big powers wouldn't reduce their own armies. So Hitler just says, well, if you won't disarm to my level, I'm justified in rearming to yours.
And when they said no?
He just walked, pulled Germany out of the League of Nations entirely in late 33. He was signaling that he was done playing by their rules.
Which sets the stage for the audacity of 1935. This is the year he gets validation and realizes nobody's really going to stop him. Let's start with the Saarland.
The Saarland, yeah. A huge first win. This was a vital industrial region, rich in coal, on the border with France.
And it had been under League of Nations control since the end of the war. A real symbol of Germany's defeat.
A very visible one. But the treaty said that after 15 years, the people there would get to vote on their future.
A plebiscite. And that vote was scheduled for January 1935. This was a legal process, which is key.
Totally key. This wasn't a military action. And the result, it was an absolute landslide.
What were the numbers?
Over 90%. Something like 477,000 people voted to return to Germany versus only 48,000 who wanted to stay under League control or join France.
Wow. So that's a massive propaganda victory.
Massive. And it had 4 clear benefits. First, you get the resources, the coal and steel, immediately start feeding the rearmament effort.
Okay.
Second, his popularity at home goes through the roof. He did what the Weimar politicians couldn't. He undid a Peace of Versailles without firing a single shot. This is the really clever part. He uses it diplomatically. He announces publicly that since the Tsar is back, Germany has no further territorial claims against France.
Mentioning Alsace-Lorraine specifically.
Exactly. He makes himself look like a reasonable leader just correcting past wrongs. It bought him so much international trust.
And what's the fourth benefit?
It made him bold enough to act. The Tsar vote showed him the world was on his side, or at least wouldn't interfere.
So a few months later, he just goes for it.
He pivots from a democratic win to just open defiance of the treaty. In March 1935, he rips it up.
How? What does he do?
He announces that Germany is reintroducing conscription compulsory military service, and he holds a massive military parade to celebrate.
Showing off weapons that shouldn't even exist.
Showing off an air force, the Luftwaffe, that was explicitly forbidden by the treaty. He announced the army would grow to 300,000 men, 3 times the legal limit.
And the spending reflects that, right? The numbers in 35 are already jumping.
Oh, they shoot up. Military spending hits over 7% of the total budget that year. You have to remember, he's starting from a base of 100,000 men. By 1939, that army is nearly 1 million strong. He's not just bending the rules in 1935, he's shredding them.
And the world's reaction
Yeah.
is surprisingly quiet. France is furious, obviously. But Britain,
Yeah.
why were they so sympathetic?
It's complex. There were a few things going on. First, the major powers did condemn it at what was called the Stresa Conference, but that unity just fell apart almost instantly.
Why?
Well, many in Britain genuinely felt the Treaty of Versailles was too harsh. They thought Germany had a right to defend itself, that 100,000 soldiers was just too small. There was this odd sense of fair play.
But surely the memory of the First World War would make them want to stop any German rearmament.
You'd think so? But that's where the third aim of Mein Kampf comes back in, that anti-communism rhetoric.
The buffer against the East.
Exactly. Many conservatives in Britain saw a strong, rearmed Germany as a useful buffer against Stalin's Soviet Union. Maybe a strong German military wasn't such a bad thing, if it was pointed east.
And this all leads to the biggest foreign policy win for him that year, the naval pact with Britain.
This one is just shocking.
Britain actively helps him break the treaty.
They do. In June 1935, Britain signs a direct deal with Germany without France or Italy. The Anglo-German Naval Agreement.
And what did that agreement say?
It allowed Germany to build its navy up to 35% of the size of the Royal Navy. And, maybe even more critically, it allowed them to build the same number of submarines as Britain.
France must have seen that as a complete betrayal.
Oh, an absolute betrayal. The Stresa front was dead. Britain's thinking was, well, he's going to rearm anyway, so maybe we can at least control how much he rearms by setting a legal limit.
But in reality, they just legitimized it.
They gave him exactly what he wanted. International acceptance.
Yeah.
A stamp of approval from the world's biggest naval power.
So if you wrap up 1935, you have the Saarland win, which gives him resources and huge propaganda. You have the public defiance of conscription. And then you have the naval pact, which gives him international legitimacy.
It was the year he proved his playbook worked. He showed himself and the world that he could achieve his goals with massive support at home and, crucially, a divided and hesitant opposition abroad.
He had the confidence, the resources, and the proof that the great powers wouldn't stand together against him.
Exactly. 1935 is the hinge. It's the year he turns from a risk-taking politician into what seemed like an unstoppable force, setting him up for the Rhineland in 36 and everything that followed.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to consider. We know foreign powers, especially Britain, saw a strong Germany as a buffer against communism, an idea Hitler put right there in his blueprint. So was the international desire to stop Bolshevism fundamentally more important to them than upholding the Treaty of Versailles? Or did Hitler just perfectly exploit a conflict of values that was already there to get exactly what he wanted? Something to chew on.